Hi, I'm Dr. Folio and excited to talk to you about telehealth and austere environments, 30-year experience, and nowadays Internet of Medical Things, which we are all part of. Uh, I'll start with, well, it's basically me, autobiography of my telehealth experience. Where personal, others were doing this, but you could reach out to me if you had any questions about what we were doing. For example, Alaska Native Tribal Health Consortium, how I believe that got started early days. Some of my experiences in the military, including South Pole, uh, combat environment, going into harm's way, and trying to make it where there's as little people as possible supporting the medical mission, thanks to telehealth, bringing that back to safer places, and some wearable devices such as the Cybernaut, and what we're doing now with Internet of Medical Things, we as in everybody. So I got started early. I did computers in college or high school, even with punch cards. Here in medical school, I was a second year student in 1984, teaching second year medical students how to do early computed support, where decision support, without heavy duty knowledge bases, but still walk you through a diagnosis with prompting, giving you recommendations based on what's programmed. 1990s, I was using electronic health records with the military, what we called CHCS back then, at Madigan and VA Baltimore. I was in Korea at the time, Project Akamai, and we didn't even call it PACS, Picture Archiving Communications. We called it MDIS, or Medical Diagnostic Imaging Support System. And lots of acronyms, of course. We changed that to ALTA, which still leveraged the MUMPS routine, which is still part of some major medical EMRs to this day. So Alta and Vista is being used in VA. Yeah, we thought about calling it Alta Vista, the search engine, but clever, but no. Here was me using one of the first that I knew of voice recognition using Kurtzweil, an alpha version of that kind of AI-driven voice recognition. So kind of lived through these things as they went on. And going back a little bit to 1988, jumping around timeline just to keep a flow here, but I was in northern Alaska, Prudhoe Bay, Kaktovik, and I had a patient with an Inuit worker harpooning whales with what looked like a Bennett's fracture to me clinically. But there was no x-ray machine. Some of these x-rays on top were brought in from other places, but these little ones were dental x-rays. There was a dental x-ray machine. So I taped some together, took a x-ray of the thumb. Sure enough, it was a Bennett's fracture, worst case scenario. So I called the orthopedic surgeons I'd worked with the prior year in Anchorage, and they said, sure enough, and now it's justified to send the patient that long distance to Anchorage. Not an easy flight, takes a lot of organizing, but you need that kind of proof to say you can send that patient here, not just a thumb injury. I did some work in holograms, and that kind of relates to some of the augmented reality, like Google Glass. They're more hologram-like things, holographic-like. But anyway, this was in Museum of Holography. We did this one at Children's Hospital and University Penn, used a Cray computer, created actually, we did some 360-degree holograms. You can walk all the way around and see it. And that's hasn't really taken off because it's pretty difficult, but we were doing it back in the 80s. This says film to filmless. So 1995, this was 1994 when we opened up the Korean theater and the Pacific. And I was glad to be there to see the system through, talking and sending images. Yeah, we were using these kind of screens. That's not me. But these were these kind of CRTs, cathode ray tube, for those of you too young to have even seen those. This is getting ready for other types of combat to put digital radiology or computed radiography out into the field. This was one step before digital. And here, as part of my master's thesis at Berkeley, the Air Force sent me there, and my master's thesis was putting a camrock on a computer, again, with floppies. You see, it's pretty old. Microphone using ICQ, now I think bought by Yahoo, as an indicator I'm making a call, an audiovisual telephony call. And then later, Zoom was founded nearby Berkeley, and Teams, and this had been done, but we were doing it for the purposes of medicine and for outbreaks, which after COVID, Zoom and these kind of things became much more common for teleconferencing, that kind of thing. But And it wasn't the first, but it was something that we were working on. Antarctica, as part of my aerospace medicine residency, supporting National Science Foundation, flying down there in the C-130. I was flight crew, but I was also a flight surgeon on the island, we call it, the continent of Antarctica. You can see the skis on the bottom of the plane there. Supporting the South Pole Station from McMurdo. And I didn't have a lot of experience with telehealth there, but a remote area for sure. And we did have some experience with it. There was a lot of challenges. I'd refer you to this work out of the Japanese Antarctic Research Expedition. There's many countries down there, but this I found was a good summary of the kind of things we saw that would need telemedicine, telehealth. I mean, look at this, almost 5,000 telemedical consultations over 40 years. So that's more history than I have there, at least more data. Have some experience on an aircraft carrier doing some telehealth also here with Cybernaut wearable computer back in 1990 or 2000, I think. The system didn't really work for the deck strike injury exercises we were preparing for. But it did have a proof of concept, and we found many issues that we had to fix with that. And now with HoloLens and these kind of things, there is a lot more kind of augmented reality in these types of things also now in surgery. But that was some early work, pretty exciting, even if it didn't work. But telemedicine, I flew with the Coast Guard for 4 years. I get a phone call as a radiologist, but also a flight surgeon saying, we've got a corpsman on a submarine 1,000 miles offshore. Let's go and do our routine. And they knew I would just pack up some medications, antibiotics, pain meds, 2 sets, 2 waterproof barrels, all kinds of stuff ready to deploy, fly out 1,000 miles, open up the C-130, drop the stuff down. And the corpsman, who's the closest thing you can get as a doctor on a submarine, we're not flying them out. They're staying on there. We treat the appendicitis medically, and it works. There's a lot of experience with that. Doesn't work all the time, but these are young people, very sharp, very healthy, and I've never had one fail on me. Devon Island, Jeff Jones sent me this ultrasound as a proof of concept. As the Mars analog, it's the largest continent, Devon Island in Canada, uninhabited with the exception of the Haunted Mars project, simulating going to Mars and doing ultrasound, which, the concept was easy to do a proof of concept, but you still had to do it. Then the Pentagon invited me to start the telehealth program. I'm standing by the podium there, and that's the look I had when they told me what I was going to do. But I did it. It took 2 years. I had a team, got some money, funding, and it's happening today with not only Air Force, all the forces, all the medical systems around the world. Telehealth is now commonplace. We did things where we go into harm's way while under attack, Fallujah firefights, and setting up these things. We had to go there to set it up so we could send the images out so others didn't have to go in the future. So, and when I was at NIH, I had some experience with mobile X-ray trucks driving through Kenya. That's Mark Coley and Dave Aaron there in that picture years ago, getting the truck to drive around these western areas of Kenya to get the X-rays. But then the 200 radiologists in central Kenya couldn't read them all. So we developed an automated system to read them, pretty much parsing them out, negative versus positive. I wanted to call it TB or not TB, but we didn't do the characterization until later. But here's the mobile truck. There's the generator, X-ray machine, and getting lots of X-rays and parsing out the negatives, which were screened. This is early kind of AI stuff, support vector machine committees, that kind of thing. Related work, this is Jeff Solomon's work out of Fort Detrick with animal studies and infection before COVID, looking at AI and how you can separate out everything in the lung, and everything that's not lung and not vessel is probably pathology. And this works, right? You get the histogram, you sense all the lungs and what is there that shouldn't be. And in these animals we were researching, it was infection. This is going strong, NIAID, with Dr. Fauci and others. We worked with Gabrielian and Alex Rosenthal on TB portals, which if you just search TB portals, you'll see thousands of images from many countries, I don't know how many now, to help solve outbreaks of TB. We're also looking at silicosis now, where and many more countries than we have here. But to make available this data, genomic, radiomic data, the clinical records, folks uploading their images to this repository for constant monitoring and looking and analyzing research. I have a patient that looks like this, and okay, here's one that looks like yours, and look at all the data. So Internet of Things, or now Internet of Medical Things, which we are all seeing somehow. We know somebody with these things, the remote patient monitoring, remote therapeutic monitoring, care management that's remote as far as home-based therapies, dialysis, chemotherapy, infusion. Where do we stop? Well, it's hard to have an ICU at home, but you can have mobile phlebotomy, mobile radiology, mobile mammography, direct pharmacy. A lot of us get medications by mail. So anyway, I've gone through my 30 years of experience with telehealth and some related areas. Again, the Alaska Native Tribal Health Consortium is going strong, and everywhere I think in the world they're talking and doing telehealth, telemedicine. I talked about some of the applications in combat, actually going into harm's way to go and figure out how to send fewer people there and do remote care. And it works, right? I mean, we wouldn't know what to do without it these days. And today, Internet of Things, Internet of Medical Things, wearable devices. A lot of folks have Apple or other watches, which tells your pulse and rules out AFib. You've got Cardia for a pseudo 12-lead EKG from what it looks like. And some of these are FDA cleared, maybe not necessarily approved, but for AFib, for example, a lot of successes there. So I wanted to thank you for your attention. Sorry I couldn't be there in person. This is a tele-presentation, I guess. But here's my LinkedIn. There's other ways you can reach me. I'm the only Les Folio in LinkedIn. I can't answer questions right now, but feel free to contact me, and thank you for your attention.